Hi, thanks so much for joining me today in this video from Merlin's Mountain, whose magic I hope rubs off on you, as I'm always hoping. It's certainly rubbing off on me. In today's video, I just want to talk about a very simple thing, really, which ends up being more complicated than any of us ever expect it to. And that is just my reason why I don't do political readings, or I don't base my readings on politics anyway. And they're fairly simple reasons, but people often comment on it in my comments, and this is no disrespect whatsoever to a great many of my friends who do political readings. But you know, politics exercises people's minds and it runs our world, so it is absolutely relevant, I'm sure. But I don't for a lot of reasons, and I suppose the first reason takes me way back to childhood. I grew up next to a huge Christian church and I started going to it. You know, my parents didn't go to it. I was just interested, so I went to it. And I developed an interest in playing the organ. And I was a church organist from the age of about 10 up until not that long ago, actually. And I only stopped because all the churches seem to have closed in this area. So there you have it. But, you know, I developed my own kind of fondness and attachment to the Christian church, for better or worse. And within it, I noticed something that struck me quite strongly, even as a small child. I think I was probably more like sort of 15, 16 before it really started making sense to me, or making nonsense to me and got me wondering about things. But I grew up in part of the north of England, which is what you would call a Labour Party stronghold. In other words, a socialist stronghold. In the American situation, we'd call it a democratic stronghold. You know, it's that side of politics which is supposed to be about looking after ordinary people and supposed to be about, you know, making sure that things are balanced away from any kind of injustice. So strangely, actually, for the British Protestant Church, the Church of England, there were a great many socialists there, and there was this strong kind of support of the Labour Party with a lot of people. But there was another side of it. And it has been said that the Church of England is the Conservative Party at prayer, and if we were the American political system, that would be the Republican Party, really. You know, the side of things that's more concerned with wealth, and you know, they have their own way of compassion. Their idea is that if you make the rich people richer and have sort of tight laws on things, that richness will trickle down, and a lot of people genuinely believe that. And certainly I would say most of the people I met in the Christian church, several actually that I've been the organist of, that were actually conservative minded, were like that because they genuinely believed it was going to be the right thing. But it just, it doesn't really work. The two sides don't seem to work together. They worked together in a way in the church because everyone had this Christian thing in common, and sometimes people were more willing to see the other side's point of view than you would find generally out there in life because it was a Christian church. But that really taught me that anything to do with God, as I saw it, and maybe to a point still see it that way, but the universe, the divine, everything, all the spiritual forces, really, to me, don't stick to one political party or side or another political party or side. They just are what they are, and we believe what we believe. You can have good people and bad people on both sides of it. You really can. Now, I tend, perhaps because of my upbringing and perhaps just because of what I've seen in the world, I tend towards the side of socialism, the democratic side of things, really. But I've met many people who were quite right-wing in their attitudes, who were actually, you know, they believed it for good reasons, and I think they were mistaken, to be quite honest, but that's just me. They seem to believe those things for good, genuine reasons, and for that reason I didn't really disapprove of those people or what they thought. And that leads me on really to the wider thing, which is what at my age now, as I'm getting older, why I'm still not really pushed towards one side of politics or another. two sides to even that, actually. One is because now I've experienced many different governments over my life in UK, and I've seen both sides come up with some good things, you know. And this, the socialists, the Labour Party, as we call them in Britain, laughingly, that's very controversial because they're becoming very conservative at the moment. But the socialist side of things tends to be to do with looking after people. And when I became disabled many years, it's nothing to worry about anymore, but many years ago I became disabled for a few years. And of course, it was very difficult to earn any money then, and it really shocked me actually that it was the Conservative Party, the more right-wing side of things, that brought out laws to make it much easier for disabled people and paid us much more money than we'd been paid before, so that we weren't actually meant to be desperately poor, as is usually what's inflicted on people who are out of work, maybe through no fault. Oh, not again. Oh, so annoying when that happens. My camera just cuts out. I'm sure it doesn't feel hot. It just says it's too hot and it shuts down. There we go. So where was I? I can barely remember now. Yeah, this is it. You know, the dole, as we call it here, or, you know, welfare, you could say. Really, if you're just unemployed and you're not working, it's not much more than what would be called food stamps in USA, I guess. It's just enough to get by, you know. It's not, it's not like plenty of money because you're not working. And there's a sort of punishment element to that, rightly or wrongly. Of course, if you're disabled, it's not really your fault that you can't work. So we were given much more generous benefit money and able to drive cars. And able to drive cars and run cars and everything, and I started paying my mortgage from that position, actually. So I saw something good, something that worked well for me and for a lot of deeply disadvantaged people at the time, and it still kind of plays out that way. Subsequent Conservative governments have made it much harder and have really been quite nasty about the whole thing, but, you know, I did, at that time, something like 1990-ish, around that time, I did actually see some good coming out of the right wing. And I've seen some good and some bad coming out of the left wing as well. So this adds to my conviction, the deeply heartfelt conviction, that one side isn't necessarily better than the other. It just depends who is doing what at the time. And when I think of my kids and you know, younger people that I know, they're very often fixated on one political party, which is usually the party that isn't in power at the moment, and they're convinced that things would be much better if that other political party came into office. And it's just not the case. The reality is absolutely never like that. So that's one side of it. And the other side of it, and I think this is the all-encompassing truth of the thing, really, is that whether you call it God, whether you call it spirit, divine spirit, the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it, that's what gave us this earth, you know, that's what gave us these lives that we lead on this planet. And it gave that life to everyone. It made everyone the way they are. And it made some people left wing and it made some people right wing. That is a fact of life. The truth is, we were given this world, and my view of politicians has always been they're kind of like school playground bullies. They're always trying to push things their own way and never mind what anybody else thinks. And so I don't really think God cares much, you know. You can get good things coming whichever party is in power, you really can. And that, friends, is why I don't do political readings. And I'll say it again, no disrespect whatsoever to people who do political readings. I watch some of them, I find them absolutely fascinating. To be quite honest, it's just not the way I see things. And there's an extra small thing that I guess is obvious, which is just that I'm British and most of my audience is American, and I don't know what American politics feels like. I don't know what it would be like to be an American facing the issues of the day. I wouldn't know I just wouldn't know, you know. So there's no point in me doing readings on that basis. And let me just say, you know, whoever you are, whatever you believe, you are very, very welcome to these readings, friends. You really, really are, you know. There's always this question, why do good things happen to bad people? Why do bad things happen to good people? Who knows? We'll only ever find out the answer to that when our own time comes and we go into the afterlife. So I don't think there's an awful lot of point in trying to focus on that in this world. So just a quick one today, and you know, thanks very much for watching. I hope that's, you know, made some kind of sense to people. Hope there's some kind of inspiration in there. That's always my hope. Take care of yourselves, friends. Drop a like on this one if you've enjoyed it. Do hit the subscribe button. More videos coming all the time, and I seem to be making more videos than I was a week ago, so things are on the up somehow. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment, we will share the journey. I'd love to know what you think, and I'll look forward to seeing you again in a future video. Love and light, blessings and peace.